Tonight, we're breaking down the Scott Bessent Treasury hearing, the so-called Republican Big Beautiful Bill, and why this debate over deficits, debt, and credibility matters far beyond Capitol Hill. If you value clear, honest breakdowns of complex political moments like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our coverage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I want to ask about the Republican Big Beautiful Bill, which will knock about 16 million people off their health care coverage and cut programs that keep groceries cheaper for millions of families in order to try to pay for about $4 trillion in tax giveaways that are mostly going to be sucked up by millionaires, billionaires, and wealthy corporations. So, Mr. Bessent, Secretary Bessent, I'd like to start with a very simple question. Will this bill increase or decrease the deficit?
They're varying scoring on that, Senator Warren.
You're the Secretary of the Treasury, so I'm asking you. What is your view? Will this bill increase or decrease the deficit?
It is my view that over the 10-year window, it will decrease.
You know, do you have anybody who agrees with you on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask my question.
Okay.
Every credible independent expert agrees that Trump and the Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill would add trillions of dollars to the national debt and would not even come close to paying for itself. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the Penn Wharton budget model, and the Yale Budget Lab all agree on this, and they're looking at 10-year windows, thank you. So do the Conservative Tax Foundation and Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, conservative groups. Even Elon Musk and the Wall Street Journal are criticizing the bill for ballooning the national debt. The only people who are saying publicly that it's not going to add to the national debt are you, Donald Trump, the Republicans in Congress. Do you have an independent group that has put forward numbers that disagrees with all of these conservative groups and disagrees with the Wall Street Journal on this?
Well, Senator, interesting to see you aligned with Elon Musk, but if I add...
You're no more shocked than I am.
If we want to take the full congressional budget scoring, they predict, and I don't agree with their methodology, they predict a $2.4 trillion deficit. But
okay, so the answer to the question is yes.
No, but may I finish? They include that, but they've also scored $2.8 trillion in tariff income. So even in Washington, D.C. math,
okay, so,
in Washington, D.C. math, that is a $400 billion surplus.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. This bill, you admit, will increase the deficit by $2.4 trillion, but you think there will be another bill and another set of agreements that somehow materialize, haven't materialized so far, don't have any statutory authority, but that will make up the difference. So the answer to the original question, will this bill increase or decrease the deficit? I think you just said it will increase. This bill increases the deficit.
No, I want to use all the CBO scoring, and you can't take one without the other. I don't agree with the CBO.
One is the law that we are scoring, the bill that is in front of us. We don't have a tariff bill in front of us to score. Mr. Secretary, let me go on to the second question. You have said that government spending is, quote, out of control. You have also called government spending, quote, unsustainable. In fact, in the name of fiscal responsibility, you're working with the Republicans on this big, beautiful bill to pass the biggest cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act in American history. So, Mr. Secretary, help me understand here. Why is the national debt so very important that you're trying to kick 16 million people off their health insurance, but increasing the national debt doesn't seem to matter if you're cutting taxes for billionaires and billionaire corporations?
Well, first of all, a huge portion of this goes to family-owned businesses that are pass-through entities that are below that level, Senator, and I am sure you share my goals of Main Street prosperity.
You know, I'm glad to do tax cuts for people of modest means. The question I'm asking is, why does the deficit not matter to you? We're talking about knocking 16 million people off their health care, but it matters not. It does matter to you if we're knocking people off their health care, but not.
Well, first of all, that figure is overstated by 5.1 million. That is amount not attributable to provisions in this bill.
So you think it's okay just to knock 10 million people off their health care?
First of all, let's set that straight. Work requirements account for 8 million of CBO's claim number. Again, we're creating an economy that promotes and rewards.
It's clear, Secretary Bessent, that you don't want to answer the question.
No, Senator, I am answering it.
No, you're not.
And what I want is for Medicaid to be used for mothers and children as it was meant, not for 1.4 million illegal aliens, not for able-bodied people.
Medicaid is not used for people who are not documented. Mr. Chairman, I just want to say here, the part that troubles me the most is that the Secretary is deeply worried about the deficit and is willing to knock 16 million, or as he says, merely 11 million people off their health care. Matters so much. But it doesn't matter so much if you're cutting taxes for billionaires. Then it's okay to run up a big deficit. I think that's wrong.
We do have some differences of opinion. However, we also have a time crunch. I'm going to ask the remaining.
The center of this hearing was a simple question that turned out not to be simple at all. Will this bill increase or decrease the federal deficit? The senator framed the issue bluntly, pointing to estimates that the legislation would strip health care from roughly 16 million Americans, reduce food assistance that keeps grocery costs lower for working families, and still hand out nearly $4 trillion in tax cuts that overwhelmingly benefit wealthy individuals and large corporations. That framing is important because it highlights the trade-off being proposed: less public spending on healthcare and food assistance, more tax relief at the top, all justified by the claim that the bill somehow pays for itself. That is the claim Secretary Bessent made when pressed, stating that in his view, over a 10-year window, the bill would reduce the deficit. If this kind of economic accountability matters to you, hit subscribe now so you can stay informed as these debates unfold. But here's where the story deepens. The senator didn't just challenge the claim emotionally or politically, she challenged it with receipts. She cited the Congressional Budget Office, Penn Wharton budget model, and Yale Budget Lab, three independent, widely respected institutions that analyze federal legislation using established methods. All three concluded the bill would add trillions of dollars to the national debt over 10 years. What's more, criticism of the bill is not coming only from the political left. Conservative organizations like the Tax Foundation and the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget have raised alarms. Even the Wall Street Journal editorial board, hardly known for opposing Republican tax policy, has warned that the math does not add up. When analysts across ideological lines converge on the same conclusion, that usually signals something important. If you want these moments unpacked without spin, make sure you subscribe. So how does the Treasury Secretary defend his position? His answer reveals a key lesson in how Washington budget debates really work. Bessent argues that he disagrees with the methodology used by the Congressional Budget Office. He points out that while the CBO projects a roughly $2.4 trillion increase in deficits, it also estimates about $2.8 trillion in tariff revenue, which he says flips the calculation into a surplus. This is where viewers need to slow down and look carefully. Tariff revenue projections are inherently uncertain. They depend on trade behavior, retaliation from other countries, consumer demand, and whether tariffs actually stay in place for a full decade. Many economists argue that tariffs can reduce economic activity, raise prices for consumers, and ultimately bring in less revenue than projected. Treating future tariff income as a guaranteed money is a risky assumption, not a settled fact. If you appreciate this kind of deeper explanation, take a moment to subscribe. There's also a broader issue at play here: credibility. When nearly every independent scoring body, conservative and liberal alike, agrees that a bill increases the debt, and the only voices claiming otherwise are the administration and its allies, that raises red flags. Budget debates are not just about ideology. They are about trust in numbers, methods, and institutions designed to keep elected officials honest. And finally, there's the human impact. Budget math may sound abstract, but it translates into very real consequences: healthcare coverage lost, food assistance reduced, and higher deficits that future taxpayers will shoulder. These hearings are not just political theater. They are moments where policy choices are justified, challenged, and exposed in real time. This exchange tells us something vital about the current state of fiscal politics in Washington. Deficits are only a concern when politically convenient, economic projections are embraced or dismissed depending on who produces them, and the burden of risk often falls on ordinary Americans, not the wealthy beneficiaries of tax cuts. We'll continue to track this bill, the numbers behind it, and the real-world consequences it could bring. If you want clear, fact-based analysis that helps you understand what's really going on beyond the sound bites, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because this story is far from over.